It was a Saturday afternoon when I got the call from Rachel. We had been friends for years, and even though we didn't hang out as much lately, there was something about the way she said my name that always pulled me in. This time, her voice had a tinge of excitement mixed with a hint of pleading. "Hey, Matt. Could you do me a huge favor?" I didn't even have to think. Of course, anything. "What's up?" There was a pause on the other end of the line, followed by a soft laugh. "Well, this might sound a little weird, but hear me out. You know how I'm getting married next month, right?" "Yeah, of course." "Congratulations again." "Thanks," she said, clearly distracted. "Well, the thing is, my bridesmaids are all ready to go, but one of them bailed, and we're running out of time. Could you step in for hers?" I blinked, confusion building. "Wait, you want me to be a bridesmaid?" "Not exactly. I mean, I know you're not a girl, but you could help out with the wedding preparations." I'm really in a bind, and it would mean so much to me. I was about to protest when she added quickly, "You don't have to do anything crazy, Matt. It's just the dresses. The whole theme. We really need someone to try them on and help pick the right ones." I hesitated. I didn't know if I was being pranked, but I could hear the sincerity in her voice. Rachel had been there for me through thick and thin, and if there was any way I could help her, I had to at least consider it. "Okay," I said, the words slipping out before I could fully process what I was agreeing to. "I'll help, but just so we're clear, I'm not going to wear one of those dresses, okay?" Rachel laughed. "I wouldn't ask you to do that. Promise." The following weekend, I found myself standing in front of a small boutique downtown. It was one of those places that always looked closed even when it was open, with its charming little storefront and the delicate lace curtains hanging in the windows. Inside, the smell of fresh fabric and perfume hit me, and I immediately regretted my decision. But I couldn't back out now. Rachel greeted me with a hug, her excitement still bubbling over. "I can't believe you're actually here," she exclaimed, practically dragging me inside. She led me into a small fitting room where a rack of bridesmaid dresses stood. My heart sank as I glanced at them. Gorgeous, elegant gowns in soft pastels, but I was still stuck on the idea of trying them on. I could already feel my face turning red. This was not what I signed up for. "Okay," Rachel said, "here's the plan. I need you to try on just one of these dresses for me. I'm trying to find the perfect shade for the wedding theme. If you can help me with that, you can go." "I promise." I was about to protest again, but Rachel placed a hand on my arm, her eyes pleading. "I swear, Matt, you're doing me a huge favor. It won't be weird, I promise. You just need to try it on so I can see it in person." I swallowed hard. If I really was going to help her, this was the moment I had to step up. And as strange as it felt, I found myself nodding. "Fine," I said, trying to sound confident. "But just one dress. And then I'm out." Rachel grinned widely and handed me the first dress from the rack. It was a pale lavender color, light and airy with layers of lace and chiffon. It seemed like a simple enough choice, but the idea of wearing it was already making me nervous. "Go ahead and change. I'll be right here," Rachel said, her voice almost too cheerful. I walked into the fitting room and closed the door behind me. The dress was delicate, the fabric soft under my fingers as I slipped it on. It was strange, feeling the fabric slide against my skin. The dress fit surprisingly well, hugging my torso before flowing out into a gentle skirt that pooled at my feet. My reflection in the mirror made me take a step back. I had never seen myself like this before, soft, feminine, and surprisingly graceful. I quickly shook off the thoughts that flooded my mind. It was just a dress, after all, right? When I stepped back into the main room, Rachel's eyes widened in shock. "Oh my God, Matt," she breathed. "You look amazing." "Stop," I said, flushing. "I'm just doing this as a favor." She didn't listen. "You have the perfect figure for this dress. I mean, it's just, wow." I couldn't stop myself from glancing at the mirror again. The soft lavender fabric really did seem to complement me in a way I wasn't expecting. The lace clung to my chest and waist, making my shoulders seem broader and my hips appear more defined. It was like the dress had a life of its own, shaping itself around me. Rachel moved closer, inspecting me from different angles. I don't mean to be weird, but you're kind of pulling this off. Like really pulling it off. I couldn't help but laugh nervously. I'm not doing this. You know I'm not wearing it for real. She shot me a teasing grin. Of course. But you have to admit, it looks great on you. I wanted to argue. I wanted to say I looked ridiculous. But there was something about the way the dress fit, the way it felt, that made me pause. It was just a dress, wasn't it? Just wait, Rachel said, as if reading my mind. There's more. I've got a few others that I think would look even better. I groaned inwardly, but I couldn't back down now. Rachel was too excited, and honestly, part of me felt curious about what she had in mind. Maybe it wouldn't hurt to try a few more, just for fun. It was only a favor, after all. The next hour passed in a blur. Dress after dress was pulled from the rack, each one more elaborate than the last. There was one with a delicate, beaded bodice, another with an elegant lace overlay that felt impossibly feminine. I kept trying them on, and while I told myself it was all for Rachel's sake, I couldn't deny the growing sense of intrigue inside me. There was something about the way the dresses made me feel powerful, graceful, and, yes, even beautiful. After trying on what must have been half a dozen dresses, I finally asked, "Okay, which one is your favorite?" Rachel didn't answer immediately. She just looked at me, her expression unreadable. Then, in a quiet voice, she said, "Honestly, I think we've found the one." I looked at her, confused. "What do you mean?" Rachel smiled, stepping forward to help me adjust the dress I was wearing, a stunning ivory gown with lace and satin that hugged every curve. It was the kind of dress that you saw in magazines, the kind that made you feel like you were walking down the aisle of your dreams. I mean, she paused, her fingers delicately tugging at the fabric. "It looks amazing on you. I know we said you were just doing me a favor, but maybe you should think about keeping it." I laughed nervously. "I'm not keeping any of these, Rachel. I'm just helping you with your wedding." But part of me wanted to say yes. Part of me wanted to slip into that beautiful dress, to feel the satin against my skin, to experience the way it transformed me. I couldn't explain why, but the idea was becoming more and more tempting. "You know," Rachel said softly, "you could always wear it at the wedding. Just for fun." A little twist to the whole thing. My heart skipped a beat. Wear the dress? At the wedding? I didn't know how to respond. Before I could speak, Rachel added, "I know this is a lot to ask, but you've been such a great friend to me, and I just thought, maybe this could be a fun way for you to be a part of my special day." I stood there torn. The thought of wearing the dress, of stepping into that world, felt like a step into the unknown. It wasn't something I'd ever considered. But in that moment, I realized I wasn't as afraid as I thought I'd be. Maybe it was time for me to take that step. For Rachel. For myself. The wedding came and went. I did wear the dress. It wasn't just a favor anymore. It was a chance to embrace something new, something unexpected. As I stood at the altar, watching Rachel marry the love of her life, I realized that sometimes a favor for a friend can lead to an adventure you never saw coming. And in that moment, I felt beautiful, inside and out. I don't think I'll ever forget the moment I walked down the aisle, dressed in that ivory gown. The soft train trailed behind me, and the gentle weight of the lace and satin against my skin felt oddly comforting. My heart raced, not out of anxiety, but because something deep inside me had shifted. I was no longer just Matt, the guy doing a favor for his best friend. I had become a part of something much bigger, something much more beautiful. The dress had transformed me, not just in appearance, but in how I saw myself. Rachel's eyes widened when she saw me. Her face lit up with a radiant smile, and I could see the gratitude in her eyes, mixed with a hint of awe. I couldn't help but smile back, feeling strangely proud of myself. Who knew that such a small act of kindness, helping her pick a dress, could turn into something so personal? When the ceremony began, I found myself standing next to the other bridesmaids, all of them dressed in soft pastel gowns, their hair styled in neat updos. They exchanged curious glances, but no one commented. No one made me feel out of place. In fact, there was something oddly empowering about standing there among them, feeling as though I belonged. Rachel's wedding was everything she had dreamed of. The venue was a charming little chapel with stained glass windows that caught the light in a way that made everything shimmer. The air smelled faintly of lavender, and the guests murmured in hushed tones, waiting for the big moment. As the ceremony went on, I could feel the eyes of the guests occasionally drift toward me. It was hard not to notice the curious glances, but there was no judgment in them. Instead, there was warmth, understanding. People smiled and whispered, clearly accepting my place in the ceremony as though it was the most natural thing in the world. It was during the vows, when Rachel and her fiancé, Jake, exchanged their promises, that I felt the full weight of the moment. Rachel, standing in front of me, looked nothing short of radiant. She was the picture of grace, her eyes sparkling with tears of joy. The love between her and Jake was palpable, and the sense of community in the room felt all-encompassing. And in that moment, standing beside her, I felt like I was exactly where I was meant to be. I didn't feel out of place at all. The reception followed, and that's when things really started to shift for me. The guests gathered in the ballroom, which was decorated with twinkling fairy lights and elegant floral arrangements. Soft music played in the background, and there was laughter and chatter filling the room. I stood with the other bridesmaids, but this time, I felt more connected to them than I ever had before. They welcomed me, complimenting my dress, and even asking for advice on how I had managed to pull off the look so well. For the first time in a long time, I felt like I had a place, like I was included in a way I never had been before. As the night wore on, I found myself talking more with the bridesmaids, sharing stories and experiences. It was easy to talk to them, easy to laugh and enjoy myself. I didn't feel self-conscious about my appearance anymore. In fact, I felt more confident than I had in ages. It was as though wearing that dress had unlocked a part of me I didn't even know existed. At one point during the evening, one of the bridesmaids, Claire, pulled me aside. She had been one of the more vocal supporters of my bridesmaid experiment from the start. "You look incredible tonight," she said, smiling warmly. "I can't believe this is your first time dressing up like this. You're pulling it off so effortlessly." I laughed, feeling a little embarrassed, but also flattered. "I don't know if I'd say I'm pulling it off, but thanks." "No, seriously," Claire continued. "I think it suits you. You should think about wearing dresses more often. I mean, look at you now, glowing. It's like the dress is doing its magic, but so are you." Her words hit me harder than I expected. I hadn't thought about it like that before. I hadn't considered how something as simple as a dress could make such a difference. For the first time, I felt seen, not just as a friend or a favor, but as someone who could embrace a part of themselves they never thought they could. Later that night, when the dance floor was full and the music was playing, I found myself caught in the excitement of it all. Rachel and Jake shared their first dance, and as they swirled around the floor, I watched in awe. There was such beauty in their connection, a kind of joy I had never known in that way. The idea of love, of true connection, filled the air, and I realized that I was part of something much larger than just a single night. As the evening went on, I kept getting pulled onto the dance floor by various guests, some of whom I didn't even know. At first, I was hesitant, unsure of how I would move in the dress, how I would look. But after a few twirls, I couldn't help but give in to the rhythm of the music. The light fabric of the dress swirled around me, and I let myself be lost in the moment. It wasn't just about the dress anymore. It was about being present, about being part of something beautiful. I wasn't just the guy helping out anymore. I was a person in my own right, enjoying the same things everyone else was. As the night came to a close and the guests began to filter out, Rachel found me once more. She was beaming, her face flushed from the joy of the day. "Thank you," she said, hugging me tightly. "You were amazing today. You've made this wedding so much more memorable than I could have ever imagined. You truly were a part of it." I smiled back at her, my heart swelling with pride. "It was my pleasure, Rach. I'm just glad I could be here for you." As I changed out of the dress and back into my regular clothes, I couldn't help but reflect on how much had changed in such a short amount of time. The favor I had agreed to, something that had started off as a simple request to help Rachel, had turned into so much more. It wasn't just about being there for her. It was about discovering a part of myself that I had never known was there. I never would have imagined how deeply the experience would affect me. But looking in the mirror one last time that evening, I couldn't deny it. The person staring back at me was different. I didn't feel like just mad anymore. I felt whole, as if I had found a new part of myself that had been waiting all along. I walked out of the boutique with Rachel by my side, and even though the night had ended, I felt as though it had just begun. The favor had been simple enough, but the journey it had taken me on, one of self-discovery, confidence, and acceptance, had been nothing short of life-changing. The days following the wedding were quiet. Rachel sent me a few pictures from the big day, including several of the bridal party and a few of me standing proudly in the dress. It wasn't just the fact that I had worn it that made those photos meaningful. It was how I had felt while wearing it. For the first time, I felt like I had truly lived in the moment. The dress had been a catalyst, yes, but it was the experience that had really transformed me. I still wasn't sure what this meant for me in the long run. But I had learned something important. That sometimes, taking a step outside of your comfort zone, doing something unexpected, could lead to a deeper understanding of yourself. And sometimes, you don't know what you're truly capable of until you take that leap. As I reflected on the experience, I realized that helping Rachel had been a way for me to help myself as well. I hadn't just been a favor for the girls. I had, in a way, been doing the favor for me too. And that made all the difference. Thank you so much for watching till now. It means the world to have you here. This community is all about empowering each other and celebrating the incredible journeys of everyone on their path to living authentically. If you're ever feeling lost or alone, remember you have a whole family here for you. Hit that subscribe button, smash that like button, and let's keep inspiring each other, sending you all the love and strength in the world. Until next time, live your life by your rules.